Today, we're diving into a topic that is deeply, deeply personal for millions of people: the modern stepfamily. We're going to start with one man's really painful story and then land on a practical framework for how to turn what can feel like an emotional minefield into a successful working partnership. Everything we're about to unpack really starts with this one sentence: just devastating. It's the moment everything came crashing down for one man, a man who honestly thought he was building a family only to find out he was just paying for one. So picture this. He met his wife when he was 47. He'd pretty much given up on the idea of being a dad. She had a daughter and made him a promise. She said, "Love me and she will become your daughter, fully and truly." So he did. He traded his own dream of having a biological child for the promise of this ready-made family. And he went all in. I mean, he wanted to be the guy who shows up, who provides real stability. He paid for literally everything: private school, a new SUV, you name it. In his mind, he was building a foundation, proving he was the guy you could count on. It wasn't about buying their love, it was about earning it. But that foundation just cracked. It happened at his stepdaughter's 19th birthday party, a party he was paying for, by the way. After she said those words, "You're not my real dad," the whole room laughed. And his wife, she laughed too, and then added, "If you have a problem with this, go and give birth, old man." And right there, in that one humiliating moment, it hit him. He wasn't a father. He was just a wallet. You know, that feeling of being a total outsider in your own home? That isn't unique to him. His story is so powerful because it shines a light on these high-stress fault lines that run under so many blended families. So the real question is, how does a family get to this point? Well, when you zoom out from that one story, you start to see a really clear pattern. Turns out there are 5 universal challenges, let's call them friction points, that just consistently grind blended families down. Do any of these look familiar? Yeah, I thought so. These are the day-to-day headaches that can turn two well-meaning co-parents into enemies. Let's just quickly break them down. First up, scheduling chaos. You know the drill. One last-minute change, a doctor's appointment, a forgotten practice, and the entire week just explodes into a logistical nightmare. Then, of course, there's money. When there are no shared records, every single expense becomes a battle. Who paid for the school supplies? What about the doctor's bill? It's just a constant he said, she said fight. And communication, oh man. A simple text gets read in completely the wrong tone, and suddenly a quick question blows up into a massive weekend-ruining fight. Which leads to this: no records. You are positive you agreed on one thing, but they remember it totally differently. With nothing written down, it's just a blame game that nobody wins. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire. And finally, inconsistent rules. Bedtime is at 8 o'clock at one house and whenever at the other. Screen time is unlimited here and strictly limited there. For the kid caught in the middle, it's just confusing and totally destabilizing. Okay, so how do you possibly solve all this? Well, it takes more than just hoping for the best. It really requires a fundamental shift in your mindset, moving away from all that emotional baggage and toward a brand new way of looking at things. And that new approach is what we call a functional partnership. The whole idea is to reframe co-parenting completely. The goal is no longer about managing a failed romance. It's about running a successful business. And what's the business? Raising a happy, healthy child. You don't have to be best friends, you just have to be effective partners. And this slide right here is the heart of that shift. It's about consciously moving from that emotional battlefield, which is fueled by blame and what we think we remember, to a goal-focused partnership that's built on a single, documented source of truth. So this new mindset gets put into practice with a specific toolkit, one that tackles both the practical, logistical headaches and the very delicate psychology of a stepfamily. This is where it gets really practical and, honestly, pretty cool. For each one of those friction points, there's a specific digital tool. A shared, time-stamped calendar that solves the scheduling chaos. A transparent expense tracker that ends the money arguments. The strategy here is to systematically take the emotion out of the logistics, turning those potential fights into simple, clear, documented facts. But let's be real, technology can only solve the logistical problems. The human part, building actual trust in a real relationship with a stepchild, you just can't rush that.
And according to psychologists, a step-parent's role is something that has to be earned. It's not automatic.
Experts actually point to three very clear stages. You start as the babysitter, basically just enforcing the parents' rules. Then you evolve into the cool aunt or uncle by finding shared interests and building a real bond. And only then, after you've earned that trust, can you become a seasoned step-parent. The man from our story, he tried to jump straight to stage 3, and that's exactly why he got so painfully rejected. So when you put it all together, the new mindset, the right tools, and the patience this whole process requires, what does success actually look like in the real world? Well, first, a little dose of reality. Remarriages actually have a divorce rate that's about 10% higher than first marriages. And why is that? Well, it's often because the stress of that first year, driven by totally unrealistic expectations, is just immense. Psychologists often contrast two different models for stepfamilies. The first is the romantic model. It's built on that instant family fantasy, and it's the one most likely to fail. The successful model, that's the neo-traditional. Here, the focus is on a strong marriage first, with realistic goals and a parenting plan that can adapt. And this is the model where, time and time again, we see the most well-adjusted kids. And all of this brings us to one final, really powerful question. If you can use technology to take all of the administrative headaches off the table, creating a single source of truth that ends the daily fighting, does that give a family the breathing room it needs to build the trust that actually turns a house into a home? By turning all that conflict into clarity, it sure seems like you give them the best possible shot.